The basic rule to pasta is 100 grams of flour to 1 egg and a pinch of salt. There's lots of different recipes that you can follow, but I've found the most simple way is to do this one, and it's easy to remember as well. So I've done a 400 gram mix, which means 4 eggs, free range eggs of course, a little bit of salt. As I've said before, you need salt in the water, you need salt in the pasta, and that holds the flavour throughout the whole dish. It has to be wrapped in cling wrap and rested in the fridge for about half an hour. There's lots of science behind food, and I like to try and imagine it in pictures. So if you've got gluten particles and they're like this, you want them to work together and blend together and become really strong so that when we're rolling the pasta, it doesn't fall apart and it doesn't get holes in or anything like that. I might just do half of this, set that aside for a minute. It's a little bit sticky, so I'm going to dust it with flour. When you're making raviolis, you want to make sure that your dough isn't too dry. If it's too dry, it doesn't stick together and you have to start brushing with water or egg yolk or something like that. Just squashing this into a rectangular shape. These pasta machines, if you haven't seen one before, you just attach them to the top of your bench and they clamp on hopefully nice and tight. They do need to be nice and tight because you're going to put a lot of effort in. Thinning down the end of the pasta with your machine on the right hand side of you and starting on the thickest setting, I'm going to start rolling. Now when I roll, I'm going to roll with my right hand and feed with my left hand. And the process that I go through is going through on the thickest setting, roll it through once. I'll just start that. Jump up and down a bit and fold it one more time. And this part of making the pasta is to strengthen it, to get all of that gluten going, to make sure the pasta's nice and strong. If we were to roll it straight away now and put the filling in, there's a good chance that it's going to stretch and fall apart, and we want the pasta to be really nice and tight. So I'm going to repeat this process about 4 times. The next stage of the pasta, the thickest setting's number 1 and I'm going to go down to number 6. So just dusting gently, making sure that if your hand sticks to the pasta, it's quite likely to stick to the machine, and we don't want that to happen. So again, rolling with your right hand and feeding with the left hand, just let the top bit lay down. The top piece will look after itself. As long as it's in a straight line and it's not folded, it will look after itself. The problem will come underneath where it starts to fold, and sometimes that sticks together. So I'm just going to put my hand underneath and nice and gently pull it out. When you're making pasta, try not to use your fingers too much and grab it. That's when, if you picked it up like that, that's when I'm going to get a hole. So I'll go down on the next setting. So flat hands, nice flat hands, ensures that you're not going to damage the dough. And as it gets a bit longer, just fold it over gently. A little dust of flour because I can feel that it's getting a little bit sticky. And you just keep on going. Down to the next number. As it gets a bit longer, you're going to be tempted to start putting your arm down here and stretching. If you've got long arms like me, then that's all right, but if you're not as long as me, you need to just put your hand underneath the bottom, lifting it up slowly and fold it over the top. Down to the next setting, A little bit more flour, it's feeling a little bit damp. And we've got 2 more numbers to go through. So folding, fold again. Right, now that's now on number 5. It's in between 5 and 6. Just going to cut that end off. Don't worry if that happens. Just keep all your scraps on the side and you can re-roll your scraps. Maybe once if it's quite a wet dough. If it's a little bit too dry, then you don't want to do that and it dries and cracks open. Right, so this dough, you can see it's starting to stick together. You have to be really careful that it doesn't do that. So I've got semolina. Semolina flour or powder is too big, the grains are too big to be absorbed into the pasta. So I just lay that on the surface. And just over here, and a little bit of flour on my machine to stop it sticking. And because I'm making raviolis, I've got a little, quite a big cutter actually. I'm going to use the flat side and just indent it really gently. 3, 4, we'll do 5. And that's just showing me where I'm going to be putting everything.